2, 1. You are now live on Channel 8 and YouTube.
Thank you, TCTV. Good evening. Time is now 6:30 p.m. I'm Chairman Timothy Toth, and I'd like to call the Select Board Business Meeting to order on this 8th day of June, 2022. Please rise and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you for that. Before we begin, I'd like to state for the record, not only are we being streamed live on TCTV, Cable Station 8, and our own YouTube web platform, but this evening's recording will also be available for later viewing on the YouTube channel. This evening, we have the following board members, staff, and expected guests: Mr. Bennett, Ms. Griffiths, Mr. Curry, Mr. LaMontagne, our administrative assistant, Ms. Young, and our intern, Mr. Graves. And we have some other members in the audience. We're also joined tonight with the advisory committee. And John, I'll let you introduce your team.
Great, thank you. Well, I'll have to open up my meeting as well at 6:32. And obviously my team is all present. We have a quorum. Mr. Francis, myself, Mike, and Paul. We are all present and we have a full quorum.
Okay. As always, the agenda for this evening has been set no later than 48 hours out by law, publicly available at the official source for town information, templetonma.gov. Although I have the discretion as chairperson to add or remove from the agenda, it has been set to allow for time, personnel resources, and public awareness. We do reserve the right to move agenda items around to fit our business and guests. Thank you. If it's your first meeting, attending at a select board meeting or any public meeting within the community, welcome. We're glad you joined us. Please be aware we do our best to address all agenda items adequately, all public concerns with due concern, and all comments with dignity and patience. Please do your best to show the same respect. A few comments for any guests that we may have joining us remotely this evening. I don't believe we have any, but just a reminder, our Zoom rules of the road. Please use your video whenever possible, although if you're waiting for your agenda item, it may be better to have the video off. Use the mute features when not speaking, although TCTV or the chair can place any or all on mute. It's easier to control your own button. If you wish to speak, raise your hand. Use the raise hand feature in Zoom or politely break in. If you wish to see these materials shared on screen, please request that of the chair, email, or refer to which document. This will help everyone stay synchronized, be helpful in viewing public. Only the chair and TCTV are able to share content and screens. We have a very short meeting agenda, but we also have some information and some action that needs to be taken by advisory committee. So I'm going to turn the meeting over to advisory.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Welcome, everybody. Appreciate everybody being here. As I did, I called the this committee to order at 6:32, and we do have a full quorum. I'd like to review first and foremost the meeting minutes from May 25th of 2022. Does everybody get an opportunity to read those? Any questions, concerns, misconceptions? I don't see any at this time. I'll entertain a motion.
Second.
I'll entertain a motion. I just know what you're trying to say. I think you're trying to say so moved. Is that what you're trying to say? Yeah, Roger, I guess so moved. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second. Any other discussion? I see none. Paul?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Mr. Francis?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. And obviously, the main reason why I pulled this meeting together was for a potential transfer of funds to the Department of Public Works. You want to take the seat for a second? Just give an overall explanation first.
Again, I'm Mr. Souza, come up to the
Oh,
microphone.
sure. Mr. Oh, I didn't even Mr.
Judges.
You like Darth Vader. I don't know. It's like a ninja or something.
Yes.
Good job.
Sit down, all right?
Please.
So Mr. Sozik and I worked on this request. What you have is a request for 20,000. I'm going to ask that board change that number to 18,400. The reason for such change, we have a special article that was assigned for the design phase of this project for the Main Street Bridge. So that request of 18,400 was just be for task number 1, project startup and data collection. You folks probably already know, we went through the alternatives analysis. The water department picked alternative number 2, and the select board and the town went with alternative number 2 for the bridge design. We're proceeding forward in a collaborative way with the water department. Bob and I have already had meetings with Mr. Driscoll and Mr. Davin over there. And this will help us get this moving forward. And everything will get done all the way up to the bidding phase, where at that time we will potentially use, this is getting way ahead, 14 months ahead of time by the dates you see within that proposal. But then we could go out and get this construction started. We know what we're getting for our ARPA. The select board have authority over the ARPA funds. Obviously, we rely on input from the advisory committee. But then once we know what our infrastructure money is, we'll have a better gauge on where all their federal dollars are falling into the town. With that, Mr. Sozik, if there's anything else you wanted to add further to your request?
No, I think we're on the right track for this Main Street Bridge, and it's gonna keep us moving forward. And when time comes for it to go out to bid, we'll be already at that point. And we won't have any stalling on moving forward.
Okay.
The biggest concern we had, if I can, Mr. Chair, jump
Sure.
in for a second, was obviously the longer we delay on this, the further with the cost of materials, and Mr. Sozik can speak because he just went out for salt price. Everything is going astronomically through the roof. And this will allow us, it's sort of unforeseen project startup and the data collection. So that's why we're asking the unforeseen request to come from the advisory reserve. Did you want to add anything else? Because your materials that you see it now with gas
No, I think
and everything
it's,
else.
Good, good advice for the boards to move forward as we speak, because I don't even want to be here for FY23. The stuff is going up so much.
Understood. Do we know what the ARPA infrastructure money is going to be from the state yet?
The infrastructure money?
Yes.
I haven't received that information. Actually, when I talked with Congresswoman Trahan, I did mention that, you know, at least with the ARPA funds, we had a number.
Mhm.
But with the infrastructure money that President Biden signed into law, we still haven't received any word on what, and I talked to other municipal managers, and they still haven't received any information on what their municipality will receive out of that infrastructure money.
And this money, this 18.4 is going specifically for
Task 1.
for the task. Okay. Right. Mm.
All the design would come out of, and all the other tasks would come out of the article.
Right.
that
I think
what
I want to
town
make sure
meeting
that
voted
everybody's
on.
clear that back in 2019, there was a $200,000 allocation made for the Main Street Bridge project. And there was about $163,000 spent of that already. So there should have been around $34,000 left. And that obviously went to that was also spent, correct? And that was spent on the alternative analysis, I believe.
The town's portion was 51,300 that was expended.
Right.
By contract, you probably don't have your updated BBAs yet.
Yes.
But once you see that, the difference will, I mean, obviously we get the 18.4 from the advisory and it goes into Bob's highway other account. They expect to do that work to get completed.
Okay.
And then he would charge that task 1 from his highway other budget.
And if we didn't do this tonight, what would the impact be on the community or the taxpayers?
We would have to wait till the fall town meeting.
And what would that do to the project?
It would push everything out.
Another, how many months we talking? We talking another year, 2 years?
I would say it's probably shaving 6 to 8 months off it.
And just so we're all clear, there's a difference between your emergency funding and unforeseen expenses that come up. I'm not looking at this as an emergency. I don't know if my board members are looking at it as an emergency as well, but I'm looking at this as like an unforeseen expenditure that's come up that obviously in order for us to move these funds around, to hopefully expedite this process a little bit better, so the people on Main Street in Otter River can get over that bridge in a two-way lane versus a one-lane lane, correct?
Yes, they recently just did another bridge inspection, and it did worsen, but not enough to completely close it yet, so I advise you, well, the residents to move forward.
Okay.
Keep the ball rolling.
And if the advisory were to approve this evening, I've received commitment from the Templeton Municipal Light and Water on their commitment towards this proposal, as well as the towns, but I can't sign a contract unless the funds are there for me to sign it.
Finance 101, right? I have to cut that.
Yep.
Anybody else have any questions? Any questions? Nothing? Like,
What did you say your emergency reserve balance was at?
right now?
Yeah.
We haven't spent any, it should be at
So
the
it's
same.
50.
Right.
Okay, that's what the BVA from April said.
That's
I just
correct.
wanted to confirm. I thought I heard something about.
No, nothing's
Okay.
been spent.
Yep.
Nothing's been spent. So obviously with this
You're
potential,
flush with cash.
I wouldn't say flush, but I mean, I wouldn't say,
Not by today's standard.
no, not by today. In fact, obviously the fiscal year ends at the end of the month. So obviously then the new fiscal year kicks in 1 July. So I mean, for a great thing for the town, I mean, for the entire year up until this point, those reserve funds have been there, ready and available if need be for, any type of emergency or any type of unforeseen expenditure that came up that needed to be done. But yeah, so no other questions?
So, Mr. Chair, if we could just amend that for it to be 18,400.
Yep.
Just for task one.
You got it.
So that's why we keep it just a task one.
Okay, I have a motion to change amount from the 20,000 to the 18,400. Okay, I have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? I see none. Mr. Francis,
I vote yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Paul, and I vote yes as well. That changes the amount. Now we need a motion to approve the movement of the 18.4 into the highway department's account.
I will move. That's the other account. correct?
That's right, highway other, that's correct.
I will move.
Okay, have a second?
Second.
Have a motion, a second, any other discussion? Okay, this is to, again, move the 18.4 from the emergency reserve, transfer to the highway department other account for the Main Street Bridge project. Any
Task
other
one.
discussion?
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Task
Task one. Okay. Task one. See none, roll call vote, Paul,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes. Yes.
Bill, and I vote yes as well. And you have the paperwork for this?
We do.
Excellent,
Thank
thank you. I have to, that's fine. Okay, at this time, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. I have a motion of second.
Second.
And motion, any other discussion? See none, Paul,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes. Yes.
and I vote yes as well. Thank you, and thank you for your time, Mr. Chair, I appreciate it.
My pleasure. You're welcome to stay for the meeting if you wish.
Oh, thank you for the, I probably won't.
Nice job. Great job.
I do.
Okay, coming back into our meeting, approval minutes of prior meeting. We have minutes in our packet. Any comments, thoughts, discussions?
Okay.
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Curry.
I move to approve the minutes of 5/25/22 as presented in our packet.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. I do have one discussion item after reviewing the minutes. I just want to make sure we annotate for the record as we went through our reorganization that I was participating remote and was prepping for surgery the next morning. It just does not indicate that I was remote and that I had passed the chair for the remainder of the meeting to the vice. Did I miss it when I went through it?
It
Okay,
It does say it.
okay. It doesn't show though that we had the vice running the meeting. And that's all I wanted to make sure we added, just to keep the record current.
Is via Zoom enough, or do you want me to offer? Like under 4B, it says vice chair. Richard moved to, make me the vice chair after the motion carries, or after seconded by Bennett, just include Mr. Curry. Due to Tim being remote, Mr. Curry ran the remainder of the meeting.
So that would be as amended.
Yeah, correct.
Okay.
So I would change my motion to, I would approve the minutes of 5/25/22 as amended.
Second.
Jeff seconded originally, but I did the amendment.
I'll second that.
So we have a motion with a second for the amended presentation meeting minutes. Any further discussions? Hearing none, I will call for the vote. Mr. Bennett,
Yes.
Ms. Griffiths.
Yes.
Mr. Curry,
Yes.
and I vote yes as well. Thank you, team. No executive session minutes to report on. Next on our item, citizen input. Any citizen input this evening? Seeing nobody jumping up and down or waving their hands, we will pass over that.
I had on the senior department, or sorry, the senior center is hosting a vaccine clinic on June 22nd. And that's from 12 PM to 3 PM. And they went wide with that. I even saw that Winchton was advertising for it. So that'll be a good vaccination clinic. I want to publicly thank the town administrator for writing a really heartfelt note and posting it on the town website about us reaching out to the victims of the Uvalde massacre. So thank you very much for that. I didn't want to pass over that without seeing his compassion, noting his compassion.
Thank you for that.
And TCTV about an hour ago released our Memorial Day celebration. So thank you to TCTV, and we can all watch our Memorial Day.
Nice.
Very moving. If people weren't there and watching, I know a lot of us were. The guest speaker was pretty amazing, pretty moving. That's all I had, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank
Mr.
you for
Chair,
that.
also, while we're at it, ongoing farmers market at the library.
Absolutely.
Thursdays from 4 to 7.
Good point.
Thank you, Mike.
Any other input? Seeing none, we'll move into new business. Mr. Lamontagne, we have no new employees to introduce this evening.
We do not, Mr.
We do
Chair.
not. Thank you for that. Item B, annual appointments, reappointments. Mr. Rice, would you read through the list? for
I
me?
absolutely will. I would move to reappoint the following. Cable TV Advisory Committee, Patricia Gale, for a term of 1 year to expire on June 30th, 2023. To the Capital Improvements Committee, Justice Graves for 1 year, Tom Smith for 1 year, both expiring on June 30th, 2023. For the Conservation Commission, Amanda Susie, 3 years to expire June 30th, 2025. Council on Aging Board, Janice Lefevre, 3 years to expire on June 30th, 2025. To the Cultural Council, Lisa Dembeck and Nicole Roberts, both for 3 years to expire June 30th, 2025. To the Economic Development Industrial Corporation, otherwise known as EDIC, Stephen Castle and Glenn Eaton, both for 1 year to expire June 30th, 2023. To the Boynton Library Trustees, Michael Morgan and John Henshaw, both for 1 year to expire June 30th, 2023. To the Open Space Committee, John Henshaw and Carrie Novak for 1 year to expire on June 30th, 2023. To the Recreation Commission, we have Candy tonight. Thank you for being here. Candace Graves, David Monzello, Jessica Sutton, and Nicholas Smith, all for 1 year to expire on June 30th, 2023. And finally, our Veterans Graves Officer, Sheila Pelletier, for 1 year to expire on June 30th, 2023. So just a quick note on the table that's in there. It said 2022 for Sheila Pelletier, but I
I
made,
was gonna say something about that, but we have that correct. in the minutes.
perfect. I got it.
Second,
Thank you.
A motion and a second. I just have a comment for the Council on Aging Board and the Cultural Council. Janice LaFever for Council on Aging, Lisa Dembeck, and Nicole Roberts for the Cultural Council. These are 3-year appointments, but due to a bylaw, these individuals will be ineligible for reappointments following this appointment, if approved, due to a local bylaw and/or state law. I know our Cultural Council can have up to 22 members. They have a 7-year period of service with a year off, and then they can come back if they wish. So just so people understand why we're doing things the way we're doing it is by our bylaws and our policies.
nice point.
Mr. Chair, I just have, did all of the people who are being appointed or reappointed, did they submit forms? I don't want to be reappointing someone if they intended to, just not serve any longer.
Good question.
Justice did them this year, so.
Yeah, I emailed everybody a few reminders during the year. I sent out a form to them, and everyone who responded back is what's in your packet. Anyone who didn't respond back or who said no, I've already posted those vacancies online as of last Thursday.
Okay, just want to make sure that everybody that's here really wants to be here.
Thank you for that qualification. Okay. Any further discussion on the motion?
Justice, were there a lot of vacancies? It seemed.
Online. We have that new commission, the Disability Commission, so there's a lot of, I would say probably about maybe the same as what happened at this time last year.
Not bad.
Very good. Any further discussions? Hearing none, I will call for the vote. Mr. Bennett,
Yes.
Ms. Griffiths.
Yes.
Mr. Curry,
Yes.
and I vote yes as well. Congratulations to everyone for their reappointments.
And
Thank you for stepping forward.
Mm.
Absolutely.
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Vice,
I would move to appoint Jeff Bennett from the Select Board to the Montachusett Joint Transportation Committee, or MJTC, for a term to expire at the organizational meeting in 2023, usually held in the month of May. And I make that motion just to kind of coincide with his other appointments and his other work with the Montachusett committee, the regional committee.
I'll second if he wants it. Do you want it? Is it
Yes.
just Diane?
I was actually on it last year. The sentence, it says vacant, but I don't know if there was a paperwork shuffle or whatever. I know there was an email back and forth, but the MRPC, the MPO, and the MJTC, they're kind of intertwined, and sometime where there's all three entities at one meeting, so.
Yep.
But it keeps you up on the road projects and funding stuff and things. And sometime Bob goes, Adam has gone before. We've tried to get things moved up to no avail, but all we can do is ask.
Right.
So.
thank you for that. And thank you for agreeing to continue your work on that committee. Okay, any further discussions? We have a motion duly seconded on the floor. We'll call for the vote. Mr. Bennett,
Yes.
Ms. Griffiths.
Yes.
Mr. Curry.
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. Again, thank you, Jeff. Item C, Action regarding Templeton Fish and Game, one-day liquor and entertainment licenses and a Sunday license.
Hi, Linda. Hi. How are you?
I'm getting all my permits this year.
I appreciate it.
It's a lot of fun, right?
It is.
Paperwork makes the world go
I
round.
have a couple different one days. I can do two of them in there. One for the 23rd of July. And one for September.
And for Sundays,
In for Sunday.
and for Sundays, the last one is for every Sunday through, I think, was it October?
I think it's mid-October.
Yeah, I think it is.
This is Country Fest, right?
Country Fest, and then we're also going to do a new festival this year called the Beer, Bacon, and Bourbon
I
Festival.
heard that, yeah, I read that.
And it's going to have different restaurants from the area, and their entry just has to contain beer, bacon, or bourbon. We're gonna have a bunch of breweries and a couple distilleries and 5 bands.
That's fantastic. Yeah, and you guys had a very successful Country Fest last year.
Every year.
Yeah, so between the two of them,
Brewery.
Brewery.
Mhm.
there's a couple good ones in there too.
How would you feel if a brewery came to Templeton? Big one.
I think it would be great, and they should join the Beer, Bacon, and Bourbon Festival.
We may have an invite for Percival Brewing Company. I think that would be an excellent thing to invite them to see our community. So more to follow on that.
Okay. I'll give you more details as soon as I, like, we have Montachusett Brewery, we have Stonetown, we have Berkshire. And Berkshire is a distributor, so they have 5 different breweries. One's Outlaw Brewery in Winchester, and apparently it's a very good one. And then a lot of the different food we have, the Crows Uncommon is one of them, Williams, Ale House, Montachusett Brewery. So we have a lot of different vendors. It's gonna be a good day.
How about Bull Spit?
Bullspit as well, yes. I forgot. They are coming as well.
Mr. Chair, I would make a motion to allow the Templeton Fish and Game Club to apply for, on separate days, one day, all alcohol licenses for July 23rd, 2022, for Sundays through the summer on the lower pavilion. And for, what's this one? Beer, Bacon, and Bourbon Festival. September 10th, 2022. So that's,
And live entertainment purposes.
okay, and live entertainment.
All together.
Okay, okay. And everything's up to date, right, Holly?
Yeah.
Everything's good to go.
Formalities and dotting all the i's and crossing all the t's.
Do we have to say the name of the side or? Sure.
Okay, so motion duly made, seconded. Any further discussions, team? Thank you for the presentation.
Get with the brewery.
Working on it.
Hearing no further discussion, we'll call for the vote. Mr. Bennett,
Yes.
Ms. Griffiths,
Yes,
Mr. Curry,
Yes.
and I vote yes as well.
thank you.
Thank you. very
Thank
much.
you.
Have a lovely week.
Hope
You
to
as well.
see you on the pond.
Oh, you will.
Next up, item
Right.
D, 5D. Action regarding amended resolution for the Department of Community Services.
Mr. Chair,
So one thing.
what you see in front of you is the amended resolution, this evening's date to a resolution back in 2018 of 0514. No, this isn't like a major reconstruction. Basically, essentially what we're doing is we're taking just the recreation out based upon the special legislation going through the general court right now. Move it over to the Public Services Department. And it's just to update language within these resolutions as well. So just some updates made to it, as well as taking recreation out of community services but it would be effective upon the adoption by the Massachusetts General Court on the act to create a Parks and Recreation Commission in the town of Templeton.
Basically, just updating our resolution, some housekeeping and keeping in line with some other things we have in the pipeline and moving down the track.
Exactly.
So to be clear, Parks and Recreation Commission will be under
Public services.
Public Services, which is Mr. Souza.
Well, next item, we'll talk about that one. But community services is being updated and recreation is essentially being pulled out of that wing.
Community service will still be seniors, veterans.
Everything else will still be,
Yeah, but so what's the thinking on that? It's because it's a commission now, or is
well,
it?
there'll be a Parks and Recreation Commission.
Yeah.
So you can't well, you could, but it makes more logical sense to pull a Parks and Recreation, put it under the umbrella of the department that has the staff to provide the resources to it. But we'll talk about that in the next one.
So it kind of eliminates a step going forward in communication of, okay, this needs to be mowed or whatever, or can you get this?
This is,
Thank you.
Mr. Chair.
Good.
This is all part of the momentum that we started by splitting it out and adopting, what is it, 40, 45? I forget what the,
45, I don't want to misspeak, but we're
right.
actually creating a Parks
Commission.
Commission.
This
Correct.
is
Will
all
have
part of it.
oversight of the
More than-
fields and so forth, and they can set policy, they can do different things. It'll be more apt to be with the highway.
Right.
And sometime building and grounds and stuff. Similar to in Winchendon, if you look up Parks Commission, it falls under the DPW because they have just not be recreation. They will actually have oversight over the fields and what goes on there
Mhm.
and all those things. And eventually we'll have to go back and revisit town use policy because by adopting that law and creating this, they will have the say-so over them. So it will be, we'll have to divide up, like using town hall, senior center, that stuff,
Mhm.
and then the fields that we have will be,
Is
on
River's
them.
Edge, would that come under it too, River's Edge, or is that
That's-
already under
that's, what's that?
River's Edge, the new conservation area?
That falls
That will
under,
be a
building
decision
grounds.
we'll have to make when we make that split. So with the common too, it's where we're gonna classify that
How
stuff.
we
But
gonna
it's all the
classify?
evolution of
It's
doing,
44.
officially doing the parks, because we've said we've had it, but we've never actually done it. And now
Okay.
we have done that and getting,
Tweaking
Things
it,
right.
laying it out, getting it in writing, and
And
if
so
we need
this
to
is
make
just-
adjustments, we can tweak it as we go.
this is just part of the process of doing
Efficient.
that and getting things lined up. And it's actually like probably new to us, planning and then following through. It's just becoming
I have
more
it.
and more repetitive.
Yeah.
It just, government just takes time.
It
It just
does.
takes time.
Yes, it does.
It's slow.
Yeah,
Thank you, Mr.
I
Chair.
agree. Terry, I needed the explanation as well. And as soon as Adam finished, I understood exactly where this came from. So
Thank you.
I had the same feeling.
Good discussion. team.
Yep.
So we do have the motion on the table with a second. Any further?
We do?
Oh, no, we don't.
I'll give you one.
I retract that, Steve.
I move to adopt the amended resolution number 2022-6-08 for the Department of Community Services and for the chair to sign.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussions, team? Hearing none, let's bring it to the vote. Mr. Bennett,
Yes.
Ms. Griffiths.
Yes,
Mr. Curry,
Yes.
and I vote yes as well. Item 5E, action regarding resolution to create a Department of Public Services.
Mr. Chair.
Mr. Lamontagne, go right ahead, sir.
Mr. Souza, if you come up too, I mean, because this is, so we worked on this together. When I did my first draft with our office, we sent this off to Mr. Sozik as well. with the Parks and Recreation Commission in accord with Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 45. He already has a Cemetery Commission under his purview too. And then we're going to include the Disability Commission in accord with Mass General Law, Chapter 40, Section 8J. Bob's been, as you know, because he has the Building and Grounds Department, he has the staff. We're working on ways, the last budget, we added another seasonal laborer to his staff as well. He's going to be working on the parks and assisting the Parks and Recreation Commission. He's already been making some improvements and looking at ways to improve that Gilman Waite building. I know Mark Danielson was down there with some of the rec commissioners. And then also he's been working on all the ADA improvements within his budget, and that he will fall under with the Disability Commission. So he'll be working with them as well. It all makes sense to put it all under Department of Public Services, that Bob could coordinate, and all the buildings and grounds, the highway, all those facilities will fall under his purview. I'm not sure if he wanted to speak any further. He reviewed it. He didn't have any problems with it. And Bob, do you have anything further to say?
No, like Adam said, and Jeff, this has been going on for well over a year, and me and Adam kept touching bases on different ideas and moving forward with the legislative change in the Parks and Recreation, and come up with a plan, and it seems like it'll work from what he proposed in front of you today.
I just have a couple questions, or do I wait till the motion? Yeah.
Let's wait till the motion.
Okay.
We have discussions.
And this one would also take effect upon the passage of in the general court of the creating the Parks and Recreation Commission as well. So these will both go into effect at the same time.
It doesn't say that in there. Do you want the motion to reflect that? I know that we just did a motion without that. You're saying that that's the trigger for these two.
It's under effective date
Okay, okay.
within the resolution.
Thank you. Perfect. Mr. Chair,
Mr. Weiss.
I move to adopt resolution number 2022-06-08 to create a Department of Public Services and for the chair to sign.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any further discussions?
So is this going to involve tweaking as well for budget wise? Because now it's kind of expanded his, and he, like you said, he's got to redo his calendar now to assign.
There will have to be some adjustments along the way,
Yeah,
and you'll notice changes within the budget as well.
yeah. Because what sparked that was
I think we'll be able to make it work with the current budget.
Yeah.
But you will see changes in certain descriptions within the budget
Mhm.
next time around.
because as we add things like River's Edge, that puts more on his personnel, more on his budget. If we fix up Gilman Waite and, the concession stand, it's, as Templeton expands, it's going to create more volume for him or for work so in the future, we might even need to hire more highway just to keep up with all the grounds and things that are coming in that department. It's my, just my thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, it's starting. I mean, we only have 2 full-time guys and we got 2 seasonals. I don't expect the 2 seasonals to be forever. And once again, I've been talking with them for over a year
Mhm.
that we should really add on 1 more person on the buildings and grounds as well, to help out with
Yeah.
all the open space parks and cemeteries, because it is quite a lot. And last year, we didn't have a dry spell, so to say. So, I mean, they barely kept up with mowing and trimming.
That's what I was gonna ask. So you'll be mowing Gilman Waite, that whole 3
I
field?
will, no.
Well, no, I know. Do you have any
No,
robots?
if I could also add
We
to,
mow it now, so.
Bob mentioned the 2 seasonal laborers. We also have a position posted for a seasonal laborer right now. We're probably gonna have to put it up on Indeed, because there hasn't been really, you haven't received much interest in the position as of yet. So
Yeah,
that will get them up to at least 3 seasonal laborers, which will help out. It's 1 more person, but they're only for a period of time because they're seasonal. But we're always going to be looking at ways to continue to keep up with the workload.
Yeah. So far, so good.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interject, Bob.
So that's where we sit with, hopefully it all comes together in the future.
Yeah.
6 more years, it won't be my,
Oh my gosh.
Bring you back as a consultant.
I thought of you because I had to go to Boston for something and I was on Fresh Pond Parkway and the grass wasn't moving. I'm like, geez, I wonder what's
Yeah,
going
like this
on in this
past
town.
Memorial. We had I had one guy out on COVID and ended up taking a couple of highway guys to help out, but the cemeteries are priority for Memorial. So
Yeah,
other things got neglected a little bit, but we got it caught up, so.
yeah. And
Maybe
people
give
in town
Forrest
are
Gump a
very
call.
reasonable. Most people are reasonable, you know.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta realize what I have for a crew and how much we take care of, so you gotta prioritize what's most important at that time, so. That's what I did.
Appreciate you.
And again, this is following with the momentum we've created, and I like the way Jeff so eloquently put it. Not only have we thought it through, planned it, now it's time to start following it through and executing it,
Checking boxes.
checking off the boxes as we go. Any further discussions? Hearing none, we'll call for the vote. Mr. Bennett,
Yes.
Ms. Griffiths.
Yes.
Mr. Curry,
Yes.
and I vote yes as well.
Thanks, Bob.
Well,
Thank you, Mr. Loser.
you're welcome.
And moving right along, action item 5F, insurance proposals contract award. Mr. Lamontagne, if you would, please.
Mr. Chair, we went out to bid for our general and associated insurance for fiscal year 2023. You see within the bid tabulation sheet here, we received a quote on our bid form from Berry Insurance of $244,473. And unfortunately, Maya's quote was rejected due to not submitting the town's bid form and not acknowledging addenda 1 through 3. So we went out to bid, and Berry Insurance was our apparent lowest bidder. So we come with you for that. Mr. Toth was also present too when we did the bid opening. I'm not sure if he wanted to say anything further on it, but I think it's pretty much self-explanatory, Mr. Chair.
Oh, it was very self-explanatory. And I just happened to be right place at the right time as the bids were being opened.
So MIA submitted something, they just submitted a messed up bid.
They put it on their own quote sheet on their own Maya letterhead with different categories, or not categories, but different sections outside of our bid form that we use. So if we issued an addenda, which made it very clear that you have to use our bid form and things like that. If you don't use our proper bid form, then that's reason for grounds to reject. I checked with town council on it further, and it is what it is.
Did we give them any feedback that?
Use our
their
bid
was But did we give them that feedback to say your bid was rejected because you didn't follow the rules?
Oh, they know. They're gonna go back and talk with their staff, and
'Cause, I mean, it's, it's.
they understood why it was
MIA,
rejected.
I know that we have ongoing discussions with them all the time. There's
Mhm.
always like, some very tense moments on, what rates are gonna be and otherwise. So it's just interesting that they would have done something so bush league. Just if, I mean.
Yeah,
honestly,
Tim was there. They know they didn't submit it.
Yeah, it
and-
was,
That's crazy.
I'll be so
Somebody new in
bold.
the office.
What was sent was not received on time. What was presented was a working copy, but it didn't have all the pieces that were required.
What?
And
That-
so
Am
I
I
mean,
correct in
the
hearing?
the representative who came had a package,
Yes,
but it was not the complete package. It was their working copy with markups.
because they didn't get ours
What-
in time.
What was mailed to us or FedEx or whatever version it was did not meet the deadline. So it was a late submission. We had something that was being looked at and discussed, but it was an incomplete package, which is why it was the grounds for the
I
rejection.
got a little confused. So did we send them so we didn't send them anything. They just came up with,
Sealed bid. But their proposal did not meet,
all right. I
did
get
not
it.
arrive to the town hall by the deadline.
Yeah.
What was presented as it came to the opening was working copy, but it was an incomplete copy. So it just had to be rejected.
Don't meet the standard, you don't.
How does that
That
go?
is
It's the
correct.
contract.
Specifically to,
The
how many vendors got the RFP?
3.
And one out of the 3 submitted it correctly and on time. So that's how you give your business.
That's how you do you. Yep.
It's just unfortunate that sent something back that was not in the right format. That doesn't seem professional. It doesn't
I guess.
match with
No.
what, their capabilities are. So I'm surprised. I'm glad that you said that we offered them the feedback. It's unfortunate. Competition is good.
Yeah.
But not at the expense of the professionalism of these organizations. We couldn't even consider it. That's why, you've got the nose in there. You don't have an amount. You can't consider the competition factor of these.
Right.
We're held to the one that submitted it correctly. And that was $244,000.
Well, I think there was a takeaway there where they know now that they're gonna have to go back to their team and the future when we go out to bid. I think they'll understand you gotta use the town's bid form.
And meet the imposed deadline.
Wow.
Any further discussions?
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Rice,
I move to award the insurance proposal contract to the apparent lowest bidder, Barry Insurance, as presented.
Second,
motion and second. Any further discussions, team? Hearing none, we'll bring it to the vote. Mr. Bennett,
Yes.
Ms. Griffiths.
yes,
Mr. Curry,
Yes.
and I vote yes as well. Thank you, team.
Have a good night, folks.
See you, Bob.
thank you,
Take care,
Bob,
Bob.
safe travels.
Item 5G, discussion regarding status of town accountant position and future choices.
Yes, I asked to have this on for discussion. We had talked about this back in December. When, Kelly's was left and then was going to agree to work part-time, and we talked about then we would offer her to stay till June, and then we were going to decide somewhere in the thing, and it hasn't been on the agenda, and I don't think we really have discussed it. And today I was looking through the DOR financial review of the town and the recommendations strategize for succession planning. It talks about the accountant. We have done the social media policy. We have revised the advisory committee bylaw. Town meeting approved it. We're just waiting on the AG. But there was mention specifically about succession planning, about the accountant. And they also talk about maintaining experienced, competent personnel. And this isn't about, Kelly or the job or this, to me, it's the long distance thing. We're paying extra expenses for certain things. And the fact that we talked about it and we have to make a decision if we're going to stay with Kelly and how long we stay with her, and do we have an alternative plan to try to find. And I think Ethel is looking for accountant personnel, and there are a few others. We have a deputy assessor who is leaving. That's a big hit. We have 6 months, the plan for that. It goes by fast. Myself personally, my view is I'm not ready to go with 3 years with Kelly, because I know we talked about either trying to go out and find an employee as an accountant or to go with a service. and a certified public accounting service is one of those things that's exempt from bidding, same as legal counsel. So I just asked to have this on here so to discuss it. I mean, we're almost at the end of the fiscal year, we're almost in the middle of June. We can't wait till, July 1st and then
Right.
and just on a side thing of what we were just talking about, the insurance thing, I don't know if everybody catches it, but in the cities and towns advisories and updates from the DLS and the DOR, the new director of accounts, Deb Wagner, a while back when she first took over, and I don't know the reason, but she sent out a strict letter to all the school districts, and she just sent out another one, and the advisory was heed the director of accounts. If you don't fill out the forms in timely manner, in order, and they're not done to specs, your free cash isn't getting certified, this, that. So, and on top of that, having been through the experience of, you're not having an accountant and things just, they run amok. So it's an important position. It's something that we talked about. And we said, yeah, we'll do this, and then we'll do something else. And that something else we just never addressed. So it comes down, my thought is to keep Kelly at least for a year. And in the meantime, then we actually got to put some time in, and Adam, we want to do this and look at this, 3 things: keep Kelly, or try to find an employee actually coming in the building, or explore a certified public accounting service to come in a couple days a week. And I know right now we have a full-time assistant accountant in the office, but that has been a revolving position in the last few years. I mean, it's just whatever the reason was, I don't know, but that's just the other thing, the other side of the coin. So I thought we should talk about this and do something, make a call.
Good discussion points, and before we can get into the nuts and bolts on any kind of strategies on contracts and stuff, that's the potential executive session, which we probably will be invoking. So we can take a deeper dive on that, but yeah, those are excellent speaking points you brought in.
I just, it's like I said, we don't have the 6 months that we had back in December. So, I mean, we don't have to do something, but I just think the
Right.
smart thing to do, and having recent memory and been involved in the system of when that, happens, it creates, and I don't want to go back and repeat that same thing, not because we're getting to the point where we're not perfect, by any means, but we are far and improved from $92,000 in stabilization to over $1 million. And we've been getting our stuff on time as far as the paperwork and stuff there. I was at off topic, I was at a family thing, and somebody said to me, well, I haven't seen Templeton in the front page in a while.
That's true.
Well, we might be due, but so far others have
Don't
been
jinx
taking
us.
the heat
Don't jinx
for
us,
us.
that's right.
So, which is a good thing.
I'll bite and play devil's advocate to your.
At least the things that we were on the front page for, most of the time, was not a good thing to be on the front page for. So I would just like to stay away from that as well. But no, it's a serious thing, and we just need to, as managers of the town, for the most part, we need to, I think we need to make something, or say, Mr. Adam, 1, 2, 3, let's do this, this, and this. But
I'll bite and play devil's advocate to his we're not perfect. How long do we think Kelly's gonna want to commute? That's, we have a little bit of an issue with the commute and the pay, but how about her health? How about what she, looking down, we need to address it, is what I'm basically saying, is
That
we do
may-
need to address it from both sides of the coin.
that may
She's
improve a
not
little
really
bit,
commuting though. She's
depending on
telecommuting,
the assistant.
and then she makes
Couple trips.
Couple
but-
trips.
a couple of trips based on our meeting schedule, budget, budget time. What are the budget time,
It's audit.
fall, and annual town meeting,
And then the audit.
which came, someone, and watch, I know I wasn't there in person, was away on business, but I heard it come up that people were acknowledging that we don't have, that the account is traveling
Yeah,
on our dime to come to these things.
I don't know what the trade-off, we might have to crunch those numbers
No,
too.
okay,
especially with
we're
gas. All right,
dangerously
sorry, yep,
close.
all right,
We're
nope,
dangerously close on
done.
a personnel issue that cannot be
Done.
discussed
Sorry,
openly.
my bad.
We
This is
will
just
pick it up in the
our
executive session.
action of, You
Copy.
know,
Understood.
uh,
Executives.
Yeah.
on this position.
I appreciate you
we
bringing it up.
Offering, Kelly to stay for a year, which I think is the smart move at this point in time. And we plan in between time, in between we
Time's
look
ticking.
and,
July's
see
fast
what's available,
approaching.
Investigate
Okay.
different services or other avenues and by the time the next budget comes up, we should be able to have something, financially wise, because then, again, 6 months, we're gonna have to make a decision on, okay, this is where we're going, this is how much money we need. This, that, the other thing. And we're not the only ones looking for accountants, so
Correct.
it's,
Mr. Chair.
Still want them?
So as was mentioned earlier as well, I mean, town's made significant financial progress, unfortunately, and it was mentioned, we posted for the deputy assessor position, another key financial position. And also earlier, all the towns looking, I actually took a chance to review all the accountant postings. And this is just May 17th to today. We're talking Hadley, Burlington, Millville, Acushnet, Townsend, Avon. All these towns are looking for accountants, and it's so challenging to find an accountant. And the thing is, the current arrangement, as I mentioned in my memo, with the assistant town accountant in the office, and the remote work is working
Yeah.
with that department.
Agreed.
It is, we're getting our financial reports in time. We're getting everything done that we need to do. So the question ultimately for the board is, I'm recommending a 3-year contract, but I have to get that confirmed through this board.
Yes, you do.
So that's what's in front of you this evening. That's all I have, Mr. Chair, basically, because that's the board's decision that the board needs to make.
Thank you for that. And that will be a discussion that we don't do in open meeting. We will do that in executive session. So there's no action required on that item. Action item 6, old business, and there's only one item there. It's regarding the marked bus shelters. And I know there were some communications received. They were not available to present with us this evening.
We didn't change the location.
No, there was to be some discussion, but Mr. King, I believe, was not available, so we will have to defer this to a future meeting.
Need the motion on that to defer?
Yes.
Unless we do board member comments prior. He's just, if we go to executive, he was just asking if we're gonna come back into regular, or we're just gonna end it.
For a vote.
Yeah, we can do the
Oh,
board.
for a, this whole possible vote. Yep. Oh, so then we would come back.
Sorry, Mr. Chair, just clarification.
Oh, it's quite all right.
Mr. Chair, I move to table the discussion and vote on the installation of marked bus shelters till a further date as the presenter can be present. Mr. King, can you,
So it'd be maybe the 22nd.
June 22nd.
you want
That's
that
what we're gonna
date?
plan for.
You want me to put that date?
I think as long, the chair has authority to place it on. I mean, if you want to table it to that date, that's fine.
Can amend that?
No.
Okay.
Motion on the floor. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Team? Hearing none. For the motion to table this to a future meeting, how do you vote, Mr. Bennett?
Yes.
Ms. Griffiths.
Yes.
Mr. Curry.
Yes.
And I vote yes. as Board member, administrator comments and reports.
Yes, I have a couple of comments.
Okay.
First one, last week, there was a little picnic or so event over at the senior center. The cooking duties was by the town administrator, Adam, and Mrs. Adam. It was pretty well attended. There's hamburgers and hot dogs and stuff, and I spoke with a few residents. The few that I spoke with, they watch meetings, keep track of stuff. They're fairly happy with things are going. It was a nice event over there. Like I said, it was well attended. So that was a nice event, nice thing to attend. On another front, myself, the town administrator, and Mr. Glenn Eaton from MRPC, who's also a Templeton resident. We met with, we kind of kicked around what we had got presented to us by Mr. Flick and that group on the Holman Street property, the old Temple Stewart. And we had a remote meeting with a couple of folks from the EPA. Very enlightening, very encouraging, a lot of good news on a lot of different fronts. They plan to come out to Templeton to do a phase 2 assessment of the site, which in turn they said they will go back and they can fill in the worksheet of phase 1, and we will have a better idea by, I think, was it September? I believe in the fall, we would have an understanding of how dirty things are and get an idea of possible cleanup costs. The good news was if the town has possession of it, the town will not be on the hook for any of the funds. They will come from the EPA. He did mention that now there are requirements that the State Department of Environmental Protection could, put on the town. But he said, generally speaking, historically, they don't hassle you if you're trying to get a brownfield clean enough to use. And also I thought the examples of the city of Gardner has done some brownfield grant work and stuff, and they haven't been, bothered or a bunch of restrictions or something from the DEP. So that was, and the developers, once we have an idea, say if it's 100,000 to clean it up or whatever, we would have a dollar figure. And if they, buy the property and own it and it's dirty, they're not eligible. Those funds from EPA are not available to them. So it works for the town,
Yeah.
but if they do it, then they're on their own. That's just increased their
Totally
costs.
different program for
Mhm.
municipality.
There is one area they said that is fenced off, and I have an idea where it's at, but they are not gonna test it. It wasn't touched in the original cleanup. And I said, so you don't even like kick the dirt? He said, no, you don't even mow the grass. It's dirty, it's fenced off, segregated. And they just said there's stuff there that, So that was some good news, I thought. Some good information. He was up, the individual knew about, all the history on it, things. There was some good news where there was a comparison to Lawrence, was it Lawrence, or that had a site and they had about $1 million in back taxes owed to them. And it was a same kind of situation, and they got it cleaned up. And they got their money that was owed to them, but not they did it like a backdoor thing with the cleanup and the sale. They didn't directly collect the taxes, but they got their money. So he said there are several ways to go about that, but it was good, good information. It was good news. I think it bodes well for the town, being able to get that site cleaned and done. And Also, one interesting thing I wasn't aware of, that these sites, if you want, they can be turned into recreation sites. They said you take off the topsoil, you put X amount of inches of concrete, and then you put loam on top of it and grow grass. When it rains real hard, I don't know where the water goes. I know concrete's kind of porous, but that was, that was an, they said that's always an option. But Gilman Waite's right across the street, so business wise, but it was good information, and the town, I think, is in a lot better position with their property than we probably thought. Because I had tried to find out details and stuff on the internet, and you go searching and you find out a little bit this, a little bit that. But this gentleman, he was all up on it. He says he has all the past information on it, and he does not foresee no real, big issues with Templeton as far as, cleanup costs and stuff. So it was interesting. It was an informative, and they will be back here in town. And if anybody, I guess, if anybody's around, we can even meet with them. And I'll be talking with Glenn Eaton of MRPC. I've been going back and forth with him, trying to gather stuff with this for about 2.5, 3 years now.
That's fantastic.
It's just, but it was good news from the EPA. It was very, very enlightening. So that was a couple hours well spent.
Lucky you.
So
That's awesome.
on that note, that's all I have, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
You made
That's so
Terry's day.
cool. Yeah, really. Are we gonna share what we did, or? You want to?
Go ahead.
So after River's Edge, the ceremony, Adam and I were there doing a little extra stuff, and the commissioner, Ron Amadon, Commissioner of Fish and Wildlife, came by and had a little chat with us, and he envisioned a ADA compliant fishing area along the river. And he had some other ideas that I don't think I'm gonna go into detail now until they come to fruition, but he said, my job is to put you in touch with the right people, under me to handle it. And the Doug Cameron came out Monday, and we took a ride over there, and we walked all around across the street on what we own, the CERT property, the fire department property, River's Edge. In front of River's Edge is owned by the Army Corps of Engineers, but he can make a MOU and put in to see, because he thinks that'd be perfect for ADA compliant fishing area.
Then also the Baldwinville School.
Oh yeah, we hiked up the hill to the Baldwinville School, and he was looking at that area. What was he looking to just check that area out for the view, and then what he could see down there? Because he's thinking he could make at least 2 accesses, right? One for fly fishing and one for ADA compliant. But he also thinks he can make the fly fishing one ADA compliant because of the parking lot. He took a person in a wheelchair around with him on some of his prospective site walks, site checks, and that person spoke to him on behalf of fishermen with disabilities and gave him the 411 on what they look for, ease of access, because if they leave something in their car and it's across the parking lot, they're not going to wheel all the way back over there and come back. They're just gonna leave. So that was really exciting. And then if the second piece comes to fruition, we'll fill you in, but that'll be even more amazing, because they like contiguous projects that line up along the Otter River and things that flow into the Otter River. So we have a few things that they're interested in helping us with. And that's free to the town, by the way. The fishing spots are all free to the town.
And Ron Amandon lives in Templeton.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, he's 4th in command. If you look up, it's,
I'm reading his bio right now.
yeah, Baker, Polito, Hebrides, is it, or Hebrides, and Mr. Amadon.
They were really impressed with the River's Edge
I was
project.
I was like looking for him. I thought Andrew Canado. I went up to Andrew. Are you Ron Amadon? No, I asked you, is that Mr.
I was
Amadon?
actually very interested to see what the spelling of his name was, but I know we passed over it, but where we're potentially putting that shelter for for Mart. That's called Amadon Park,
Oh. You are awesome.
but it's with an A, not an I.
Okay.
Ron's got an I in there, but
Okay, yeah,
it's called Amadon Park. So when we refer to it from now on, we can say it's Amadon Park. It
yeah,
has that,
where the Mart bus shelter
yeah,
might,
and it was
potential.
dedicated 1950. No, I'm sorry. Doesn't say when it was dedicated, but you've got the Amadon Park dedication, and then you have the World War II memorial right next to it.
Mhm.
Sorry for your.
Oh, that's all right. I don't know if anybody wants to know. So this was in Petersham, the Nipmuc Cultural Celebration, and the Nipmuc tribe is the tribe that inhabited our area and fought King Philip's War. They had a reading list, so one of the books that I went through was Our Beloved Kin, A New History of King Philip's War by Lisa Brooks, published in 2018. Very informative, starts at the Cape in the 1600s and comes all the way through Templeton, Hadley, Brookfield, all the way up to Winnipesaukee, some of New York, Rhode Island. It mentions all the tribes, the women leaders and chiefs, and they were landowners. It's just a fantastic history. I don't know if it was, I believe it must have come through the commission, because when I went on a hike in Lawton Forest, they had a get to know a forester. Harvard Forest gave the Nipmuc some of their land back. One is private for sacred ceremonies and at their use, and the other is shared with the public. But it was a fascinating thing. I hope we could go to cultural council and bring it in. And then I brought that up because in light of Uvalde, there's a book called The Boy Crisis, and it actually talks about warrior dads and warrior kids and where that came from and why it's important. The purpose of the book was because the majority of shooters are white kids, white males. And this touches on a different avenue of the problem. So, we see everything about gun control on television, but this talks about what's going on in lieu of Gloria Steinem and the women's movement that's built since the 60s, in men's purposes in life versus women's purposes in life, and how that has changed in the narrative and the dialogue we have needs to change so our boys can find purpose in whatever they choose. If they want to take a traditional quote unquote female role in society, like a nurse or a home health aide, it explains it all in the book in depth, and it gives you two different perspectives from two different doctors. One is Dr. Farrell and the other is the Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus, Dr. John Gray, and the dilemmas that are facing families and young men and boys today. It promoted the Boy Scouts and how important that is. I wanted to compliment John Kaplis on that, but those were two books that I've been going through. I went through them both twice because I was so fascinated. I grew up in Marlboro, The Beloved Kin. I lived right in the town that they said they burnt this tavern down, was in my neighborhood, and the chimney was still there. And I'm like, wow, this really validates what I was taught as a kid and shown as a kid, and here we go. So if you're interested in those things, two books.
Thank you for that.
Good to go.
Good to go.
Yep.
All I have is our office finished up with the architect putting out the bid specifications for
Saw
the senior center re-roofing project. So that ought to be interesting. And if there's anything like the library roof bid opening, I'm sure we'll get a lot of interest. That's all I got.
One more step closer to getting it over the finish line.
Correct.
Two quick things. Adam, you were highlighted for the doing the cooking for the senior center. You were the fallback. They had originally reached out to me, but that was my surgery day, and I knew I was not going to be in a position for that. There's another one coming up in July. I will be cooking that day for them. And we're already working on the menu for that.
Oh, great.
So more good things to come, doing things for the folks in town. Been a busy season, and I see a whole bunch of other busyness ahead of us, which is a good thing. And doing the right things for the community.
Tim, I have an alibi.
Any seconds?
Yes. Memorial Day, there was made mention that the high school, Narragansett High School cheerleaders just won a national competition.
Oh,
Oh,
I,
yes.
I forget exactly what it was, but, if I definitely extend our congratulations for, on a national stage.
Yep.
Like you said, good things. Work, live, play in our town, and we're doing everything right.
and
So that was awesome.
congratulations to the seniors. Jeez.
Yep.
Cheerleading has been a mainstay here in town. They've been a very active and involved group in a lot of competitions. I believe this one was in Florida. But yes, it was a national level, national champions. But good old Narragansett. That's great things. These are the things we never hear about with our youth when they do something good.
Yeah.
Okay, so TCTV, we will be going into executive session and we will be planning to come out for a potential vote. And if no vote, just to end our session this evening.
You guys are also.
Slide still up.
There might be a lag.
That's a lag, yeah.
Yeah.
it's not-
It's only like 10 seconds. So
There we are. Okay, so we're back out of executive session. Following our discussion, it would be. Do we have a motion?
Yes, Mr. Chair, I would move to extend the current employment agreement with the town accountant to December 30th, 2022.
Second,
Have a motion and a second. Any discussions? Hearing none, the vote, Mr. Bennett,
yes.
Ms. Griffiths.
Yes,
Mr. Curry.
Yes.
I vote yes as well. Yeah, next
Mr.
up,
Chair, I would make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
second,
motion made and seconded to adjourn. Any discussions?
Next meeting is the 22nd.
Next meeting will be May 22nd. June. I'm sorry,
June.
June 22nd. 6:30 PM, right here. For the motion to adjourn, Jeff,
Yes.
Terry,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
and I vote yes as well. Meeting